Uh, Appreciate everybody coming out here tonight. I'm going to go ahead and take my mask off unless anybody has an objection to that. I'm about 6 feet away from the front row here. And
Some joker.
we've got a great crowd here. I'm pleased to see everybody. We also have about 45 to 50 people who have joined on Zoom. So this is a great turnout for this meeting here tonight. As I mentioned earlier, we are going to have a survey that we'd like everybody to participate in at the end of the meeting. But this is our second community engagement meeting here for the CAM school district. If you all remember kind of pre-COVID, early 2020 timeframe there, we did go meet with a couple of communities and held a meeting just kind of on the where we are now piece of the school districts. And those meetings had great attendance, so I'm not surprised to see everybody here tonight. My name is Derek O'Neill. I'm with the architecture firm of Alley Pointer Maquetto. This is Daniel Conway. He's also with Alley Pointer Maquetto. There are times as we go through this process, you'll see him joined via Zoom from Arkansas. We're lucky enough to have him here with us tonight, helping out with the meeting. We also have Emily Bannock with Boyd Jones. I'd also like any school board members, if they would please raise their hands. Great. We have Superintendent Paul Cron over there. And then, of course, all of you that makes up this team that we have here for this project. Just a couple of things. Welcome and introductions. Why are we here? About our community engagement process. The where are we now? Just a quick financial overview. The school does have a financial consultant. And the next meeting will go very much in depth on kind of the school finances and what all of that means to you as a taxpayer. We want to go through some ideas to stimulate discussion, which from what I understand, possibly there's things that have been published in the media already. So maybe some of you guys have seen some of that, have some thoughts already, and then the survey. So we did do a survey previously when we held those first meetings, and we have some of those results for you to see. We're going to ask some of those same questions and then also get your opinions on these ideas here. Again, as I mentioned, Alley Pointer Maquetto, we are your architectural and engineering team. Boyd Jones is a construction manager that's been hired by the school system. We have a couple of engineering partners, ETI Engineering, and also Larson Engineering from a civil standpoint. And then, as I've mentioned, you guys as the CAM community schools and all of your input. There's a facilities committee that has heard some of this information and is kind of the eyes and the ears to relay information to school board as this process unfolds. Put people first, advance design, build communities. That's the dedications for Alley Pointer Maquetto. We believe in that through and through every community that we work with, every partner that we work with. We've been in business for just since 1987. We have 66 people in our office. We have offices in Omaha, Nebraska, Austin, Texas, and Red Oak, Iowa. Our goal is for all schools that we work with to become the school of choice. We're not out here trying to tell you what to do. We want to listen to what you have to say, your thoughts on the process, your thoughts on your school system, and get you to a point where you've got a community-led solution. We know that rural schools in Iowa, your competition should not be amongst each other. You want to attract the people from the metro area to move to the rural area and go to school here. So the stronger we can make all of our schools in Southwest Iowa, the better we all are. This is just a quick timeline on some of the school projects that our firm has done. I won't bore you with all of this. I do want to say that the meeting is being recorded via Zoom. We do have a website portal set up where you can go back and watch these meetings over and over and over again if you want. We also have a PDF of the presentations that will get uploaded to that portal. I'll give you that website address again, but there is a link to it from the school's website. So if you come across somebody that says, gosh, I didn't know there was a meeting, or I missed the meeting for X, Y, or Z, you can lead them to that website. They can get a chance to view the meeting and participate in the survey. So why are we here? Just a couple of goals from this process. As we walk through the facilities, listen to the administration, listen to the teachers, these are some goals that we identified through that process. Safety and security of all students and staff, provide environments that enhance and improve the educational experience for all students and staff, maximize existing square footage and space, enhance community pride in the schools, move forward with a community-based solution, and then any others that come out of this process, which I'm sure we will have some other goals or objectives that come out of this process. Our master planning process, you're going to hear me talk about this over and over and over and over. We're not here tonight to present to you solutions that have been predetermined or that have been decided on or that the school board has selected or a facilities team has already selected. Our process is to get input from the community, take that input back, generate ideas, take those ideas back to you as a community, keep doing that process till we get to something that everybody can agree on is the best solution for the school district moving forward, a CAM first attitude. Where are we now? Where do we want to be? How do we get there? Those are the 3 points of our process. We have spent a lot of time in the where are we now? That's the existing facility analysis. We're moving into the where do we want to be piece. You'll hear me use terms such as ideas to stimulate discussion. Those are things that we generate as a team to present to you to get feedback. Sometimes it can be difficult to think outside of the box or think beyond what you've known for the past 20 or 30 years. These are ideas that we're creating to get feedback from you. Again, it's not something that's been predetermined or pre-selected or anything like that. It's good to see as many people here as we do have here tonight. We are definitely wanting a broad cross-section of the community to participate in these meetings and on the facilities team. You'll hear me talk about implementation concepts, things that are short-term, mid-range, and long-term. You'll see those both as what we want to land on as a master plan, and then also things that may need to be addressed now in your school buildings that can't necessarily wait for a long-term master plan to be implemented. We analyze the existing buildings, the existing sites. We look at existing drawings, historical data. We meet with your facilities crew, your maintenance crew. We gather all of that information. We have our engineers walk through the buildings. We use 3D capture and 3D scanning. So we have a pretty good idea of what your facilities are, what the conditions of the facilities are, and things that need to be addressed as we move forward. So again, where are we now? Where do we want to be? How do we get there? So we've done the where are we now piece. That's where we've analyzed all the existing buildings. Now we're jumping into the where do we want to be piece with this particular meeting. Again, things that we look at in the where are we now component: accessibility code, handicap accessibility, ADA code, life safety code, fire alarm, fire sprinklers, FEMA from a tornado shelter standpoint, security, entering a building as a visitor and not going directly into an office space where you have to check in, sign in, get a badge. That's not exactly how we want schools to operate in this environment these days. Generally, every school we work with, you want to try and get your visitors directly into an office space from a security standpoint before they have access to the rest of the school. We look at the HVAC, that's your heating and cooling system, plumbing, electrical, your learning environments. Sometimes you'll hear us talk about 21st century learning components. What does that mean from your learning environments, your classrooms, daylighting, furniture, flexibility of those spaces. We also look at the activity environments. The where do we want to be? Again, I talked about ideas to stimulate discussion. We've created some of those, and I think some of those have been published. Hopefully you guys have seen some of those and you're ready to engage with us on what you like or you don't like, or what other ideas we need to create to bring back to the community. That process is cyclical. We give ideas, we get feedback, we generate and refine those ideas, we bring them back again, get more feedback until we get to a point where there is a consensus moving forward. Honestly, one option you may have is just do nothing. We're not here to tell you that you have to do something. We've identified some issues that you may have with your facilities now, but one option is to just keep going as you are. So again, we're not trying to sit here and tell you you need to do a particular solution or anything. We're trying to get that feedback from you. We evaluating operational efficiencies. So just having multiple buildings, multiple campuses, and multiple communities, you have operational deficiencies. Those aren't necessarily things that are holding you back as a school district by any means. It's just things that you need to be aware of as we start talking projects and processes as we move forward. Educating a diverse community committee. So as I've mentioned, great turnout here tonight. We had a meeting with some facilities folks and a facilities team, great group of people on that. We want a broad cross section of the community, as I've mentioned. We want people who have interests in the educational environment. We want people who are interested in activities, athletics, music, choir, STEM or STEAM are some terms you'll hear me use, science, technology, engineering, math. When we use STEAM, we add the arts into that conversation. Preschool, daycare, I know is a topic that's been brought up recently, and how that may be incorporated into the overall school system or the school project. Certainly technology as we move forward and as we've come through this COVID time and how the technology is needed for our students and the learning and any of those changes that may come about rapidly. So we create these options and scenarios based on all of this information, based on all of that feedback, any of those focus groups that were on the page there previously, getting that information from those of you that are passionate about the technology piece or the activities or the athletics or whatever that may be, and getting that incorporated into solutions and plans and those ideas to stimulate discussion. Again, we refine those, we bring them back, we refine them again until we get to a point where we have a community-based solution. How do we get there? Options for implementation and cost. Again, that's when, after we know what we want to do, that's when we start to talk about what it may cost, how you're going to pay for it. And a school system has a lot of different funding mechanisms that they can use. Not every funding mechanism can be used for any particular thing. You'll hear us talk about PEBBLE, physical plant equipment levies, save dollars, or used to be called the penny sales tax or the silo tax. All things that can be used for facilities, technology upgrades, buses, computer leases, things like that. Options if a property tax levy were to be introduced. That's your bond issue. We're not saying that that's going to happen. The school district and the school board has not said that's what they want to do. But what does that mean to you? At the end of the day, when you hear about finances, and I'm just barely touching on it tonight, the next meeting will go into a lot more depth on that. But the bottom line is to take pressure off the general fund. So the general fund is what you use to pay teachers. That's a majority of what comes out of that is your teachers' salaries. So if you want to retain good teachers, recruit good teachers, you have to be able to pay them well and pay them competitively. If you're constantly fixing a roof problem or a heating and cooling problem or maintenance on a building because you've got some deferred maintenance programs and options, those are things that then come out of the general fund and take away from your ability to keep paying those teachers. So you'll kind of see where these different funding mechanisms lie and how the school district may use them to take care of any of these problems or implement any phases of a long-term master plan. We have the ability to do energy audits. There are a lot of utility rebates out there for upgrades on your heating and cooling systems, on your lighting systems throughout your facilities. And then are there any ideas or any areas that would be good for private donations? The Barry Bauer Athletic Complex, for example. He's tired of hearing that joke. I think I've said that at least 3 or 4 times. So that's an example, and Barry, I know Barry from a ways back, but he lets me tease him on that piece. So thank you, Barry. But that's an example of if there are any areas of private donation, how we might incorporate that into any solutions here. We want to generate a master plan. We want to generate implementation components. So we may have a master plan that says we want to do that giant athletic stadium, but that's not necessarily a priority. That's a want versus a need. So this master plan we generate may not get implemented right now. We may need to figure out how we bite off pieces of that, but we want a design and a master plan that everybody can agree on so that we don't build ourselves into a corner in the future. We don't want to put an addition on a building and then all of a sudden wish we wouldn't have done that. So that's why we want to have a master plan that's well thought out, how you chop off pieces of that to implement, what are the priorities, what are the needs versus the wants down the road. I talked about earlier, short-term, mid-range, and long-term implementation. You'll see that we have things that we've identified possibly in the next 0 to 12 months that need addressed, 1 to 5 years, 6 to 10 years, and then kind of 10 plus years as we look at all those implementation pieces. At the end of this process, then hopefully as a community, you can agree on a solution moving forward that's a CAM first solution that's best for the school district. That information is portrayed to the facilities committee. They've looked at all the options and they can confidently make a recommendation to the school board. We think that the school board should adopt this master plan and implement phases 1 and 2, or phase 1, or whatever that may be, because we've generated support with the community buys into the solution, and we have a long-term vision for the school district. These are just a couple of slides that I like to point out. I've never worked for a school district that didn't have a fixed budget. So when you have that fixed budget, that's one of 3 legs of a stool that we can affect in a project. So if we've got a fixed budget and you say we want the highest quality possible, what you get for that is less. So if you want the best quality and we've got a fixed budget, the amount of square feet is smaller. As we move through that process, then if you want the most square footage and you have a fixed budget, then the quality goes down just a little bit. And lastly, we can have really high quality and we can have a ton of square feet if we can just work with whatever budget we may propose. But again, I've not worked with a school district that has an unlimited budget. So where are we now? This is a recap of the facilities assessment. Again, we presented a lot of this information a little over a year ago. And this is kind of the baseline or the status quo. So this is the where are we now piece. Your CAM elementary middle school here, originally built in 1964 with additions in 79 and 2017, 54,000 square feet. Just some high level bullet points. I know a lot of you probably in the bleachers there can't read all those bullet points. That's why we put PDFs of this together and put them on a website at the end of the meeting. So if you do want to go back and read those, you can see them. But there's a number of deferred maintenance issues. Your finishes are well maintained, possibly some safety and security things to look at, some life safety things, nothing that's required at the moment. But if you started doing a project here, a heating and cooling upgrade, a lighting upgrade, at some point, then the state fire marshal is going to say, okay, you're doing these things. Now you need to go ahead and get the fire sprinklers in there. You need to update your fire alarm systems. This is a score sheet that we use to score every building. It might have looked a little different when we presented it to you there a little over a year ago, but there's 4 components that we look at: the site, the exterior, the interior, and then your MEPT, which is your mechanical, electrical, plumbing technology. If I ever roll off an acronym and then don't explain what that is, please raise your hand and stop me, or just say, hey, what is that? Because I get used to hearing these little 4-letter acronyms and I don't remember to explain what they are sometimes. So the score for this building is a 4.3. Again, for the age of the building, it's not something to worry about. You'll see on a chart here in just a minute how that plugs in with the rest of your buildings, and then some explanation below that on why that's at a 4.3. Your CAM Elementary North building, 32,000 square feet, built in 1957, then with the addition, that gym component there in 2016. A number of issues, deferred maintenance, mostly just the age of the building, and everybody trying to stretch as much as possible out of the facilities and the life of the facilities. This building scores at a 3.8. It is time to do some things with that building. You can't defer roof maintenance on that building any longer. Possibly some heating and cooling things that need to be addressed. Some finishes, overall finishes. That building, as I mentioned, a 3.8 with the site analysis, exterior, interior, and mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and technology pieces. Your high school facility, 52,000 square feet, built in 1977. Not a lot of deferred maintenance issues at all in this building. Nothing that we're jumping up and down concerned about. Again, a lot of typical with the age of the building: handicap accessibility, FEMA tornado shelters, fire sprinklers, fire alarms, mechanical, electrical, things that just are close to end of lifespan on a facility like that. Finishes here and there. Things that are just, you look at and you see, we've kind of come to the end of the useful life on a lot of that. Again, this building scores at a 5.6 with the site analysis, the exterior, the interior, and the mechanical systems. Generally, it's your mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and technology that drives down a lot of your numbers on these buildings. We also looked at the athletic fields. Mostly accessibility issues as we look at these particular fields, your football, baseball, and softball components of 5.7. And then this chart shows you where they all peg out on a 1 through 10 scale. So 10 is excellent. 10 is your brand new building. 5 is adequate to fair. And a lot of it is just based on the age of the components within your buildings. This is nothing to jump up and down and be concerned about. A lot of buildings, school buildings in Southwest Iowa, score right around that 5 mark, just purely because there's a ton of buildings that were built between the 60s and the 70s, and you have a lot of them that fall in that era as far as buildings and facilities within your school district. We do square footage analysis then, so this is another component that we look at. You may hear me talk about top down and bottom up from an analysis standpoint. So top down is where we look at overall square footage, number of students, how does that relate on an overall bar graph. Bottom up is this exercise right here where we look at every single room, every single space in the building from a square footage standpoint. And we've done this for all of your facilities. As far as spaces, utilization of the space, how much square footage that you're actually using for each one of these components. It's not the bottom up piece, isn't something that we dive into super deep at this moment. It's something that we will look at as we start to talk about specific solutions and specific needs. What we do look at is this top down piece. So number of students based on overall square footage. And right now we've got it broken out by grade, by building. So the dark blue is where you're at with your actual enrollment in the buildings. The light blue is where you're at with potential capacity in a building based on square footage. If you came to us and said, Derek and Allie Pointer, we want you to build us a brand new school building. So we'd take the total number of students, we'd multiply that by 200, and that's our baseline square footage that we'd start with on a brand new school building. We'd make adjustments from there based on your specific school. Maybe you want an auditorium that seats 500 people. Maybe you have a career technical education program that's lights out and you need 3 times the welding space for students to learn in, or you have a trade school program and you're building some great houses inside that space and you're shipping them out to a site somewhere. Whatever that is. Maybe you've got a championship sports team and you want some sort of extra athletic facility to go along with that. We adjust that 200 square foot per student factor based on those, but that's the baseline that you get. So you can see that they're at the high school, you've got 147 students in a building that could handle 261. At the North Elementary, you're right at your capacities there with 121 students at 161 actual available. And then here at the the elementary middle school building, 226 students and a capacity of 273. And this is based on the 2019-2020 enrollment numbers. So next we have the community engagement survey results. I'm just curious of the people here who attended one of our first meetings a little over a year ago that we had in the 3 different communities. All right, good. So a lot of you have seen this. You're going to get kind of a little refresher on some of this. We asked a number of questions related to balancing aspirations, other goals and concepts that you may want to see as a part of this process. We asked the community these questions. We also asked the teachers these questions. So you can see the gray is the 200 community responses that we had. The blue is the 55 faculty. So as far as balancing aspirations goes, retain quality staffing is the highest one up there. High quality education while maintaining a small rural school feel. Then a facility that supports the learning needs of every student. Update current buildings and prepare for future growth. A fewer and newer building campus scenario. Maintain a diverse K-12 learning environment. Maintain appropriate class sizes. Become a destination school district. Diverse education offerings, additional space for daycare, and then other. So maybe, you know, a little over a year ago, the daycare topic wasn't as big of a deal as maybe it is becoming now in the communities and the school district as we move forward. Assigning priorities. Again, we had about 200 people in the community respond, and then the faculty is also in the blue piece there. Safety and security for students and staff is number 1. Improve existing classroom space, creating collaboration space is 2nd. Upgrade mechanical and electrical systems is 3rd. Improve industrial arts, CTE and STEM. Again, CTE, career technical education. STEM is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Consolidate buildings and sites. Then code compliance. Technology, you can see the blue bar on the faculty and the teachers. Technology was a much higher piece for them than it is necessarily for the community. I think if we drilled into that, you'd just see that the challenges of everyday teaching in a classroom and the technology that they want to use versus what they're able to use with the spaces and what they have, maybe that's a bit of a challenge and certainly a priority there. Then we have athletics, the gyms and the fields. Again, down towards the bottom, early education and childcare. Managing concerns. Recruitment and retention of top teachers. So you heard me talk about earlier about the different funding mechanisms, your general fund, how that is what is used to pay your teachers. Recruitment and retention of top educators is a number 1 piece here in managing concerns. Update current building systems that have exceeded their lifespan. The financial ability to maintain quality education as we grow. Fix current issues versus preparing for future concerns. Space for new and existing programs, then maintain budget that meets student needs. Enrollment decline is down here on the list. Cost versus benefit of school facilities, community support, losing K-12 sites, and then at the bottom, right sizing potential changes. Defining inspiration, classroom, far and away number 1 by the community and also the faculty. Technology is 2nd. STEM and STEAM rooms. Again, when we say STEAM, we add the arts into the science, technology, engineering, arts, and math component. Recreation, fitness, and wellness, performing arts, fabrication labs, collaboration space. I probably didn't do as good a job of explaining that to the community as we did when we were talking to the faculty. That's why that bar is pretty high there on the faculty. Student learning, peer-to-peer learning, it's a important piece as we move forward in 21st century educational environments. That ability for small breakout spaces, in addition to your traditional stand, sit education spaces. Nursing and medical, then a robotics labs, culinary arts, music creation, and then other. You guys do have a great media program here. So there's some components like that you can build upon as a part of this process. Other concerns. So this is a bullet point list of other concerns we heard as we walked through the facilities, and then stuff that we've heard in the community engagement. Modernize and update finishes. The restrooms are small and outdated. Safety and security concerns. No bus barn. Not enough parking. Handicap accessibility, not ADA. Lack of technology, small spaces. Wanting more pride in the schools. Visitability. Bike storage, again, safety. Daycare needs to be included. Special education, that kind of stuff. I'll let you all read this when you hop back on and rewatch this presentation later tonight. Some of the faculty comments. Our shared teachers split between the schools. It's a waste of class time on the road and not available for students at all times. There was one of those components in there where I talked about just the components that you have when you have multiple campuses, multiple school buildings, transportation between the communities and the schools. The bottom line is it results in lost education time for your students. Whether or not that's a concern with the community moving forward, we'll see in this process if that's something we need to address. More space, bigger classrooms in the middle school. Large classes don't fit. Our buildings are small, they just need to be replaced. We should consolidate the elementary schools and the middle school into a new building and fix the high school. Consolidate to one building so shared teachers can spend time teaching, not traveling between the buildings. Again, these are faculty comments. We do have some of the community comments broken out here by communities. Figuring out the priorities between the 3 buildings: safety, health, and education. Locker rooms are old, gross. Restroom facilities at the baseball and softball fields. That was noted on our overall survey as something that was needed. Performing arts space needs updated. Looking at industrial arts to improve both the middle school and the high school. Sustainable energy sources, solar, wind, those sorts of things. Community comments from the Anita crew. As a student, please don't take space from the shop for a bus barn. Would love to be a part of this process as the food director. 3 buildings that are outdated and issues. Again, food service between multiple buildings. Maybe that is something that we can improve upon in this process also. Outlets for charging computers in the rooms. Do not want to kill another town concept. Again, you're going to hear me talk about CAM first as we move through this process. We need to do what is best for the school system. And constantly focus on what is best for the students and the education of the students in the CAM system. Some other comments, put a bathroom at the baseball field, fix the locker rooms at the middle schools, would like more windows in the classrooms. Somebody who has been through 2 different updates and bond issues with different schools. Different people are concerned on looks rather than what's best as the students. And again, that's why we want to talk about this CAM first approach as we move forward in these meetings and getting input from the community. We did do a financial, we have had some financial information presented from the school's financial consultant. There's a lot of good information in there. I don't have enough time to go through that tonight, but if you all would bring a friend to the next meeting so you can hear about that at the next meeting. Each one of these each meeting builds upon the next one. So as we show you ideas tonight, we'll take your responses, refine those ideas. The next meeting, we will have a lot of financial information for you to go along with this process. As far as cost history goes, we put this chart together because we've had some kind of ups and downs lately with what COVID has done to construction and construction materials. We've tried to show you what that means. We use 2019 as the last real year of good construction data. 2020 kind of had us up and down there, not quite sure where those numbers were going to land. But if we use 2019 as the baseline, you can see that in 2011, a project that was, say, for example, $10 million in 2019 would have only been $7.2 million in 2011. And as you project that moving forward, a project that is 10 million in 2019 will be 12.3 million by 2025. And that's just using regular cost inflation between 2 and 3% numbers that are moving forward. The good thing is interest rates are dirt cheap right now. So if you do something that requires long-term financing, supporting a bond issue, anything like that, the good thing is that more of that money is going to the education of your students as opposed to paying an investment company more interest rate. Any questions so far? All right. So I mentioned that we were going to take you through some ideas to stimulate discussion. These are just things that we have put together to get input, to get feedback. Perhaps there are some topics here that can be emotional for people. I know that school buildings and where they're located and the towns that they're located in, those are things that drive emotions, drive passion. But I want to remind everybody we're at this for the students and a CAM first piece. These are not ideas that the school board or a facilities committee has told us as a design team that we need to look at or pursue. These are things that we look at objectively from the top down to start getting you guys to think about what maybe we need to do here with the CAM schools. Again, there may be a solution that is do nothing and keep moving forward that way. So option A, there's 4 or 5 options here I'm going to present to you tonight. Once I get through explaining these, that's when we're going to jump into the survey. I'm going to ask you the survey questions that we asked previously, and I'm going to ask for your opinions on these ideas. If you want to see what all of your peers and all of your neighbors think, you have to come to the next meeting to get the survey results. All right. Option A, renovate and update all schools. We don't change the grade alignments. We don't change anything about the orientation of the school buildings. We just go through and we take care of all of the issues in the school buildings, the heating and cooling, the roofs, the finishes, energy efficiency with windows and insulation and all of that stuff. We do construct a new transportation facility. And then the asterisk is on here is because we have not updated these numbers in a post kind of COVID construction, but they're generally good for now. Somewhere around $19 to $22 million if you wanted to just renovate all of your facilities. And again, that's just a number that is based on past school construction numbers for the other schools that we've worked with and based on the facilities assessment that we have looked at. Yes. That is the old gym. That's the existing gym so that's us breaking out some of those numbers. I would encourage you to not get too caught up on the individual numbers, because when we look at this, we're trying to look at the overall picture, the big picture numbers to get a feel of if this is our master plan, then what components of this would we possibly want to implement now? And how does that make sure that we can continue to implement this master plan? So if the long-term plan is we're just going to keep going with all of the buildings exactly as they are, this is one option that you can see and think about. Yes.
Does this include when we talk about renovation and getting things up to date? How about the track?
This does not. I don't believe that this includes anything from the athletic. What's that? Okay. This does not do anything with the athletic fields. That solution does not do anything with the athletic fields. As we move through this, you will see that we've got some solutions where we start to add locker rooms, bathrooms, some of those components. So there's renovation at the existing high school. There's renovation at the North Elementary building. There is a transportation facility that is added. And then there's renovations here at this building here, your middle school elementary building here. That's option A. Option B, renovate and relocate to the high school. So this is updating of the high school, adding a 50,000 square foot addition, relocating elementary and middle schools to the new addition, and getting yourself a new transportation facility. So these numbers start to go up into the $26 to $29 million range. And then this is what something like that might look like. So the dark blue up at the top there is your addition. The light blue is your existing high school. This gets you to an all one campus scenario, pre-K-12 scenario, one building to take care of, one building for your teachers to teach in. They're not on the road traveling back and forth, no lost education time, efficiencies with your food service, all of those sorts of things. We do add concessions, locker room space at the baseball, softball field complex there. And we maintain the gym that was done on the elementary building there 4 or 5 years ago. And again, these are ideas to stimulate discussion. So if you don't like it, you tell us you don't like it in the survey at the end. If you do like it, you tell us why. Maybe it's your second favorite choice of the 4 options we present. Maybe there's something else that you want to see as a part of this process. Yes, ma'am. So that gym stays as just an auxiliary gym space. Wrestling, weight room, those sorts of things could be done at that particular facility. Option C. This is kind of a hybrid approach. And again, this is just thinking big picture. Not all of these conversations have happened in order to make something like this happen, but renovate and relocate to the high school and the rec center. There was a comment in one of our early meetings about why don't we try and capture that space that already exists there to the south of the high school. It constructs a 38,000 square foot addition to the high school. Again, relocates everything to one campus. We take the gym that's at the elementary building and we capture that as part of a new rec building concept so that we can use the one to the south of the high school as a part of the school. Again, a similar price range, $29 to $32 million. As you can see, the dark blue is all of the new, the light blue is the existing. We do capture concessions, restrooms, space for the baseball and the softball field. We fill in a lot of space between the current high school and that rec center building. In all honesty, that doesn't create the most efficient solution. But if it is something that it has a lot of community support to do that, we would certainly pursue that more. Up at the top there, where you've got the newer gym on that north elementary building, that becomes your new rec center space. Option D, renovate and update the high school and south elementary. So this is renovations of those 2 spaces. The high school would become a junior senior high building or a 612 building. South elementary would handle all of the elementary building needs, and then you would not have the north elementary building. And this is what that starts to look like. So we don't do, when I showed you that top down level view of the square footage, the 200 square feet per student, when you start to look at that and the utilization of your high school, it is possible that we could look at how we could fit a 712 educational program into that existing high school building. So that's how we came up with that with renovations. Then you would have renovations here in this facility that would make this would capture all of your elementary students. So you would not have elementary split between 2 particular buildings. Yes. What would happen to the daycare center if the elementary didn't need it? You know, there's certainly options to add a daycare to whatever school facility that we have there when you're doing renovations of this level. Again, these are very high level concepts. We're not trying to take away a daycare. We certainly don't want to do that. We don't want to take away anything that is a need. Absolutely. And that's a topic that we hear at every single school that we work with, is that there's not enough childcare and there's not enough daycares. So we're certainly not trying to take away daycares from any of the communities or any of the school facilities. Those are things that can be added to any of these programs or any of these components. So again, that's option D. With a $16 to $18 million kind of price range as we look at option D. And it does eliminate one facility, one of your 3 total facilities. Yes. What was that question? The North Elementary building would be torn down in this scenario. Yes.
We talk about relocating or accommodating the what does that mean for teachers necessarily? Like, would they still? I mean, we still have like the need for most of the teachers, or that'll probably.
So, I'm an architect. I look at efficiencies of space. I would imagine you stay with the number of sections that you currently have. I don't know why that would change at the moment, but what that would do is, I don't have that slide up here at the moment, but if you've got 9 students in 2nd grade at North, and then you've got 18 students in 2nd grade at South, if both of those sections are together under one building, the balancing out of the students per classroom becomes more efficient in that scenario. And there is scenarios like that. There's also scenarios where you may have one class that's got 40 kids, and then the next class behind them only has 25 kids. And so there has to be teachers that move or switch the grades that they teach as those grades go through school. As having all of those elementary programs and classrooms under all one facility, that becomes more efficient for you guys as educators and for your school system to have all of that under one roof in those particular scenarios. Yes, sorry, I need to repeat the questions for the people on Zoom. So that question was, what happens to kind of the programmatic use of the elementary buildings and the elementary functions? So for example, however many sections there are of elementary teaching in classrooms right now, that's generally what we would program out moving forward. Yes.
In our last meeting, we had a financial advisor that talked about some of the numbers.
Yes.
Do you remember what the maximum allowable amount that we could spend? I was thinking it was around that 19 million.
You have I think that's not correct. So the question was, what is the spending authority that the school district has? I think that's actually closer to 30 million is your spending authority or your legal debt limit, but that is not necessarily what you have to spend from a combined sources and uses scenario. So that's property tax, save, Pebble, all of that. So great question. There will be a lot more information on that at the next meeting, if that's something that you would like to attend and hear more about. Are there any questions on Zoom? Is everybody ready to participate in a survey? Okay. Again, go to menti.com. And we've got this 8-digit number here. If you don't have a smartphone, if you wanted to raise your hand, I have a couple of hard copies that I can get some paper copies. We've got some pens here. Emily will bring you a hard copy of the survey. So this slide, as you're going through the questions, we're asking you some of the balancing aspirations and defining inspiration questions again. When you get to the slides on the options, these are the options and a brief summary of them. If you can read this, the Menti code is 948751112. Nine, 4, 8, 7, 5, 1, 1, 2. Yes. I think it's okay off. Your code for the Menti again is 948751112. Yeah. Yes. So for those of you that know someone who wanted to come to the meeting tonight and couldn't, we are going to leave this survey open for about 2 weeks. So if you have friends, family members, colleagues that wanted to come to the meeting, you can direct them to the website that has copies of the presentation, the recording of this meeting, and then also a code so that they can participate in the survey as well. Yes.
What is the destination school?
Okay. There's a question on Zoom related to I think a comment or a question we are asking about becoming a destination school district. So destination school district is you offer something that nobody else, no other school district in the area offers. For example, Barry's really passionate about water polo, and he wants to get a new indoor pool and water polo team going. That would be a reason to come to CAM for that. In all seriousness, it's maybe you are the premier school for industrial arts or career technology or your welding program or a trade school program of some kind. Your media production capabilities, those are all things that would make you a destination school district.
With working from home, can't that be anything? With the way the environment's changed now?
Working from home certainly has changed, a lot of the economic development prospects for all of rural Iowa. At no time have we ever been able to show that you can live where you want and work where you want and choose where you want your kids to go to school. So you may be in a situation where you're able to recruit people to come to your community. They can work for their technology company out of Austin, Texas, or somewhere in California, and then they can send their kids to the school district here. So that certainly is an opportunity also.
Question or request to clarify that these are not the only 4 options. The
Yeah.
final solution might be something
Yep.
different than these.
I got one more question.
Okay, just a second. I do want to clarify. These 4 options that we have out here tonight, the solution that we come up with will probably not be one of these 4 options. This is not the only 4 options. We're going to take the information we get from you, the feedback we get from you, and continue to refine these options as we move forward. There was a comment on daycare there at towards the end of the presentation. That may be something that moves up in the priority list and becomes a part of one of these solutions. We're not asking you to vote on any solution that is going to be implemented. This is getting your opinions and your thoughts. We take that, we refine all of these solutions. We present you new versions of them, and we continue to do that until we get to a point where there is one solution that comes forward that the community can support. What's the question?
I got, will any of these options allow school to offer more trade school classes? And the question about increased parking at the high school, if we increase the capacity.
There's some specific questions in here about parking, increasing parking. Those are all things that we would look at as a part of a long-term solution. And then also trade school related questions. Do any of these solutions address expanding trade school programs, industrial arts, career technology education? And yes, we've looked at all of those components, and those are important factors for the CAM school district moving forward.
Just remind them if there's a friend that didn't make the meeting and they watch this, the survey will be open.
Yeah.
Give out projection of the- Eventually.
So just as a reminder, the presentation that you're participating in here tonight is being recorded. A PDF of the slides is available at this particular website. And I believe this is linked to the school's website also. But it's sites.google.com/view/CAM/CSD/home. And so again, there's a link from the school's website. You can click on that. It'll take you here. It'll have information about when the next meeting is. In just about a day, we'll have the recording from this meeting here tonight posted in it. And also, then if you have friends, family, colleagues that couldn't be here tonight and they want to participate in the survey, they can click on the link, put in the code, and also participate in the survey. And we would certainly want you to tell as many people as you know about this, that we're trying to gather feedback and that we would like everybody to participate. Yes.
Timeframe, we anticipate to have a decision to vote on.
There is a question on Zoom about time frame. As soon as I'm going to give everybody just a couple more minutes on the survey, and then I do have a slide with some discussion for schedule that will hopefully answer some of that. Okay, that's really good. Yes.
So at the next meeting, do you feel like maybe the discussion amongst ourselves would be like that. Because I feel like just voted on some stuff, and I feel like we're kind of uneducated on some of the things that I haven't discussed a lot of it. I know after the facilities meeting that we had, some of us talking afterwards, and then talked to some of the community members afterwards. There was some, teachers that are very, like they're really, teachers that I talk to, for example, are very adamant that it is very good for our kids if the elementaries were provided, whichever, location. But, me, as I'm not an educator, I'm not an administrator, I didn't really quite get why they were so adamant about that. And so I was asking them to kind of explain it. So I feel like, we might be voting on something, but we don't really, like Angela, where she's a teacher in Atlantic, she felt, I feel very strongly like these teachers need, second grade teachers need to be together, because if there's a student, that maybe doesn't get along with this other student, they're stuck in that classroom together, you can immediately meet a lot of problems by putting them in the other section if they were in the same building. And that's something, me not being a teacher, like that hadn't even crossed my mind why it was so important to some of the teachers and stuff like that. So I just, voting on some of that stuff, I feel like,
Sure.
I just didn't know if there was going to be more discussion to kind of see different people's point of views. Because that's something that I hadn't even crossed my mind.
Absolutely. Open discussion is an important part of all of these meetings. So next time, I'm going to pass the mic up to you so that you can have that comment piece there. But what I hear you saying is you may not fully understand all of the pros and cons to the solutions that are being presented here, these ideas that are to stimulate discussion. And as we move forward, it truly is to stimulate that discussion. So it's getting you thinking of, well, maybe there are more positives to having all of the elementary under one roof than it is to continue to maintain an elementary in two different communities. We will certainly, at any of these meetings, anybody that has questions or comments like that, we certainly encourage that. I always stick around after the meetings. If you have questions that you want to come ask us or ask the administration, they certainly will stick around. I know that it can be intimidating sometimes to want to ask a question in front of 50 or 60 of your peers and your community members here. That's why we tried to do the survey, the Mentimeter. It gives you an opportunity to type in some comments and vote on some things without necessarily having to do that in front of all of your peers. So certainly we can provide some additional explanation on that. I want to see where we're at with some of the comments and the survey results tonight, but those are great. That's a great comment and a great kind of follow-up question piece. Yes.
But in the same scenario, I guess my opinion is you're not voting on options. Those are scenarios. And in my opinion, the word option shouldn't be there, as in these are the choices.
Yeah.
These are scenarios brought forth by you.
They're ideas.
Ideas.
Scenarios. Yep.
So therefore, there is no vote tonight.
We are.
It's your opinion of those options, scenarios, whatever you want to call it.
Sure. You're not voting. But we are trying to get feedback. Pre-COVID, I would have stuck all of those up on a wall and I would have given you some green sticky dots and some red sticky dots. And I would have asked you to go put some sticky dots up there on the scenarios that you may think needs more discussion, more explanation, or you may put a red dot on one of them that you think there's no way that this works for our school district. We tried that once 50 years ago, no way. This scenario here with using the Mentimeter to gather feedback also takes away some of that intimidation factor where you may want to put your green dot on the one plan that doesn't have any, and all of your community members are sticking their green dots on other ones. So it takes a little bit of that away, but hopefully as the world starts to emerge from the current COVID scenario and more people are vaccinated, these community meetings can go back to having a little bit more engagement and gathering on that level. So we're not asking you to vote or choose tonight. We are wanting your feedback. Again, it's called Ideas to Stimulate Discussion purely because of that. We want that discussion. We want to know where you're at. What do you understand? What do you not understand? Where is your passion at? And how do we move forward with a CAM first and a community-based solution? We do have a schedule that we've put together. It's been updated a couple of times throughout this process. If this were to get to a point where you had to have a funding mechanism beyond just what you currently have as a school district, a property tax increase or a bond referendum, something like that, the state dictates when those elections are. So if you can't just come to an agreement that, hey, we like this idea, we support this, we want to do it, let's go have an election. You have to follow the state's guidelines. As far as this year goes, we have September and November as potential election deadlines, election dates. If that is something that as a community, you guys come to an agreement on and you want to move forward with, we would need to have this process and a solution wrapped up by the end of June. And with this being the middle of April, you can start to see how that works or does not work for your community. There is a March election, and then after that, we go back to the next September. So I'm not telling you that we're trying to hit a September deadline or a November deadline, but one of the questions that is always asked is, if we can come to a consensus, when can we start? And so this chart tries to help you see that. I certainly feel that we need to have a lot more community meetings and community engagement and discussion to get to a point where we have a consensus. And if that takes more than 6 meetings, if that takes 8 meetings or 10 meetings, if we have to go through the summer and then start it back up in the fall, we can certainly do that. We're not here to push you towards anything or push you to a vote. We want to do what is best for you as a community and as a school district. Again, there is a website that has this Zoom meeting from tonight and the presentation, copy of the PDF of this presentation, and the ability to, for anybody who has not participated in the survey, to also participate. So if you have friends, colleagues, family members that weren't able to be here, make sure you tell them about the meeting. I'm excited with the number of people that are here and the number of people that we have on Zoom. I think this is a great turnout, and it is a positive for your community that your communities, that there is this level of passion for the school district and the future of the school district. So thank you all for coming. Be ready for the next meeting. Each one of these meetings has new information. So the next meeting will have a lot of financial information for you as school district community members and taxpayers. Certainly things that we want you to hear, and we want you to bring a friend to the next meeting. With that said, I will hang around for any questions. Oh, one more question.
You say the town bus route. And then that one.
Just a second here. I've got a couple of Zoom questions. There's some comments related to bus routes and transportation. I would probably defer those questions to the next meeting when I can have a couple of conversations with Paul and get a better understanding of your bus routes and some of your transportation pieces. The next meeting is not scheduled yet for a community meeting. So stay tuned to the website and the school sites. Any of the media that you got your information on when this meeting was, we'll get that posted and out to you as soon as possible.
We have another microphone at the next meeting, so you can hand it to people in the stands. That way the people on Zoom can hear it.
Yeah, we can have more microphones. We've got this set up so that we can switch back and forth between inputs between Zoom and where we're at here. The little white thing in my ear is so that the people in the Zoom world can hear what I'm saying. So we're working through the technology pieces to try and make it accessible to as many people as possible. Thank you all for coming. We'll stick around for any questions that you may have.